Hey, sleepy. Time for bed. Come on, let me tuck you in. Are you ready for a little bedtime story? Okay, sweetie. Snuggle in tight now because this first story is spooky. It's called The Monkey's Paw by W. Jacobs. In a small, cozy house on a stormy night, the White family sat around the fire. Sergeant Major Morris, friend of the family, had just returned from his travels and shared tales of his adventures. Among his possessions, he carried a peculiar item, the monkey's paw. Legend had it that the monkey's paw had the power to grant 3 wishes to its owner. Despite warnings from Sergeant Major Morris about its unpredictable nature, the family was intrigued and persuaded him to demonstrate its powers. Mr. White held the paw in his hand and made his first wish, desiring a sum of money to pay off their house. Suddenly, the wind howled, and the room grew cold. Family shivered, unsure if anything would happen. Days passed, and a letter arrived bearing news of their son's death at work. Heartbroken, the Whites received a monetary compensation, precisely the amount Mr. White had wished for. The family was overcome with grief, realizing the grave consequences of tampering with fate. Mrs. White, unable to bear her son's loss, convinced her husband to use the paw to bring their son back to life. Mr. White made the wish, and the room grew silent and eerie. But soon had he uttered the words, then a knock came from the front door. Horrified, the Whites realized the implications of their wish. They rushed to the door, but Mr. White hesitated to open it. Deep down, he knew that the resurrected son might not be as they remembered. Overwhelmed by fear, he frantically wished for his son's disappearance, and the knocking ceased. The room fell into darkness, and the family found themselves alone once again, haunted by the consequences of their actions. The monkey's paw had taught them a valuable lesson, that tampering with fate and meddling with the unknown could have devastating repercussions. Did you like that one? Don't worry, I've got one last story to help lift your spirits before you go to sleep. This one is called The Selfish Giant, and it's by Oscar Wilde. Once upon a time, there was a giant who owned a beautiful garden. The giant had gone away for many years, leaving his garden behind. During his absence, the children of the village would play in the garden after school, enjoying its lush greenery and fragrant flowers. One day, the giant returned and found the children playing in his garden. He was furious and chased them away, erecting a tall wall to keep them out. With the children gone, the garden became cold and desolate. Winter arrived and covered the garden with snow and ice. But in one corner, a tree managed to bloom with beautiful white flowers. The giant wondered how this could be, as the other trees remained bare. Curiosity got the better of the giant, and he approached the tree. As he did, he noticed that a small boy was sitting on one of the branches. The boy had wounded hands and feet, which looked strangely familiar. Realizing that the boy was no ordinary child, the giant asked him who he was and why he had come to the garden. The boy smiled and replied, "I am Love, and I have come to warm this garden with my presence." Touched by the boy's words, the giant's heart melted. He realized that he had been so selfish by keeping the children out of his garden. In that moment, the giant's garden blossomed with vibrant colors, and the sound of laughter filled the air. From that day, the giant opened his garden to the children, and they played there every day. The giant had learned the value of kindness and love, and his garden flourished more than ever before. And so, the giant lived happily ever after, sharing his garden with the children and spreading love and joy throughout the land. Night, night, sweetie.